Hey guys, it's Shelby, otherwise known as Shelbizleee here on YouTube, and today I wanted to share some of my best tips that I have learned over the years of trying to grocery shop with zero waste, and I'm also going to combine some tips that I got from you on Instagram. If you're not already following me on Instagram, you should go do so because I always ask for your input in a lot of videos, and if you want to be part of it, you should be following me over there, just saying. Now I did want to share a lot of tips in this video, like I said, my own and other people's as well, but before we get into the tips, there are a few things I have to explain. So if there are things about zero waste grocery shopping that you're wanting to know, this video can help you understand it. But if you already know a lot about it, check the timestamps in the description and skip ahead to the parts that you want to hear. First things first, how do you even zero waste grocery shop? What does that even mean and what does it entail? Well, a lot of people in the zero waste movement, myself included, strive to buy most of their groceries without plastic packaging. Okay, so that means that you do two things. For the most part, you prioritize package-free produce, so produce that isn't already packaged in some form of plastic in your grocery store. And the second thing you do is buy dry items in bulk. Bulk is one of the more complicated things to talk about because not everybody has access to it, and it's really frustrating to see people make videos about zero waste grocery shopping and only addressing how to shop in bulk when a lot of people I know don't have access to that. As a matter of fact, I would love to hear in the comments just a simple I do or I don't have access to bulk shopping. So the most famous form of bulk shopping is when you bring in your own glass jars to a shop that has containers. You take what you need into your glass jars and then you check out at the checkout. A lot of people get confused about this because they think they might be paying for the amount that the jar weighs, because that's how you buy bulk items. Say you buy almonds and they cost $4.99 a pound. You go up to the front of the register where the cashier is, you weigh it. If it weighs a pound, you pay $4.99. If it weighs 2 pounds, you pay closer to $10. Not great at math. But in true zero waste grocery shopping, when you're buying things in bulk, those stores will do something called a tare weight. So that means you take the weight of your jar or whatever you're putting your items in before you get them, so that at the end you can subtract the weight of that jar from your total weight. Does that make sense? That is the most conventional way, if you will, to zero waste grocery shop, but I find most people do not have access to this. At least that has been my experience living in Austin, living in San Antonio, living in my hometown, living in my college town. Like, people don't often have access to stores that allow you to bring your own jars and take the tare weight. It's just not that simple for most people. I'm gonna say 9 times out of 10, you won't have a dedicated zero waste grocery store that is willing to take the tare weight of your glass jars. But what a lot of people do still have are stores, conventional grocery stores, that might have bulk bins. So for instance, here in Texas, we have a store called H-E-B. Most of them have a decent unpackaged produce section as well as a bulk section. However, it really depends on what manager is on duty at the time if they're going to allow you to tare your jars and therefore use them to fill at the bulk bins. And I find that that scenario is most popular. People have bulk bins, but the store won't let you use your own container. So what are some tips for ways around that? My first tip would be to bring a very lightweight produce bag, okay? One that whenever you take it up to the cashier, they don't need to tear it. It's such a light weight that it basically equals the plastic bags that they provide for you at the bulk bins, okay? That is my number one option. That's what I do. 90% of the time, I do not take jars to the store. I do not bother with tare weights. I just bring my very, very light Chico produce bags, which I will have a link to in the description. The second thing you can do is look around the corner in the produce section, maybe near the mushrooms, maybe if they have bulk coffee, you can find paper bags. Now this is a decent alternative to the plastic bags that I see a lot of times at bulk bins at conventional grocery stores, and you can get a paper bag which can be recycled or composted and breaks down naturally in our environment as opposed to a plastic bag that will last essentially forever. And the third option here is to take one of those plastic bags that they provide at your bulk store and then just reuse it. Get one of the plastic bags that they provide, fill it all the way up, check it out at the register just like normal, and then when you go back to the store, reuse it. If they don't want to allow you to tear your jars or your bags, just reuse what they are already giving you. And if the policy is that you can't bring anything of your own at all, that's also the hack, is to look for paper bags or reuse the plastic ones that they give you until you can't anymore. Now, I know bulk shopping and zero waste grocery shopping with no waste and no plastic is the ideal way to live a zero waste lifestyle. And it's the picturesque version that most people put out there, but that's not my reality. So aside from my bulk grocery shopping hacks, my second hack is to support zero waste businesses when you are grocery shopping if you don't have access to things without packaging, or for things that really don't come without packaging in general. What I mean by this is support companies that are actually zero waste in their practices behind the scenes. Something I think a lot of people get confused about, because I work with Thrive Market a lot and I love them so much, so I did partner up with them for this video. But I want you guys to know that the reason Thrive Market is a zero waste company is not because none of their products are packaged in plastic. That's actually like a very skewed way of looking at what zero waste is, because what zero waste was always meant to be is an industrial term for companies like Thrive Market, like Walmart, like Whole Foods to adopt a zero waste business practice. Because the truth is, for every pound of trash that you're producing in your home, upstream, behind the scenes, that you're not seeing, companies are producing 70 times that. So another really great way to help the planet, even if it's not showing up in your trash jar, is to support companies like Thrive Market. The best way to think about this is to think of zero waste as something that was supposed to be the responsibility of companies. When the term was first created, it was meant to be for companies to take on, to absorb that burden. But what's happened over the last decade or so, that burden has been shifted onto me and you, the consumer, to purchase things without plastic, to only buy things in bulk, to make more and more things at home that we don't really necessarily have time to. All of that has been shifted from those companies taking control of the waste behind the scenes, because it is so much greater than what we're bringing into our homes. And now you and I feel the pressure to take on all of that responsibility. The great thing about supporting zero waste companies is that they're doing so much more than we can. That's why I shop with Thrive Market for most of my basics. Anything that you need to get in glass or that comes in a can, or even if it's a condiment and you're purchasing it in plastic, it's great to support a zero waste company like Thrive Market, because they are making a huge impact, much greater than you or I can do on a daily basis. Aside from being a zero waste company, Thrive Market also gives memberships to people who need them. So school teachers, I actually have school teachers in my audience who have gotten a free membership to Thrive Market through this program. For every 2 memberships that are purchased through Thrive Market, they provide one to a veteran's family or a teacher's family, so that they can have access to more healthy foods that you can get through Thrive Market for a much more affordable cost. So that is my second hack, to check out zero waste companies who are taking the burden off of me and you to change the entire world, who are taking responsibility for their waste. Of course, when I partner up with Thrive Market, they give you guys a deal for a 1-month free membership and 25% off of your first purchase. So if you want to try them out, now is the perfect time to do so. The third section of tips are really interesting because it's something that's pretty hard to do, and I don't think a lot of people even think about, but it is to shop locally and to eat seasonally. Certain fruits and vegetables and foods in general grow in your area really only during certain times of the year. If that's something you didn't know, it's really interesting to learn about what is and isn't produced in your area and when it is and isn't. A lot of foods that you might think are easily grown in your area or in your country might not even be coming from anywhere near you. And that obviously has a lot to do with carbon emissions. I truly believe that the idea of zero waste has a lot more to do with just the trash that you're bringing home and the waste that it takes to get things from point A to point B in the whole system. So to eat things that are in season, that way they're not being transported from so far away, because chances are if they're not in season, they're taking a lot more resources to grow, both in terms of electricity, because they usually have to be grown in greenhouses with fans, and then there's the water and the nutrient inputs and all of that good stuff that is required to make out of season foods in season for you. But that is a big way to cut down on your waste if you don't have access to bulk bins or proper bulk bins that tear weight your jars, is to shop more locally, support more local things, and to eat seasonally as well. One more tip I have for bulk shopping that I've learned over the years is you don't have to just shop for your weekly shop when you're going to the bulk bins, okay? So my bulk bins used to be really far away from me. Honestly, they still kind of are. I used to just take like smaller bags and get smaller portions of things that I would need for the week or maybe 2 weeks. But recently I realized I can take like big bags, multiple bags. I can now take my jars to these stores, fill them up completely, and then not have to go back to the bulk shop every week or every other week or even every month. Some of the tips I got from you are telling me that you go to the next county to go to a bulk zero waste grocery shopping bin, and that's definitely important to keep in mind, to buy in very large quantities so you're not constantly having to make that trip, and so that you're not making last minute runs to your conventional grocery store and buying things in packaging. Another tip that you might have come across by now, which might be a little basic, but I thought I would put it in here because if you haven't heard it, it is important to prioritize things that have minimal plastic. So if you have to buy something that comes in a jar, instead of purchasing the plastic version, purchase the glass version. That's because glass can be recycled an indefinite amount of times. It also doesn't turn into toxic microplastics when it's breaking down. Even if it ends up in the environment, it basically will stay a piece of glass unless it becomes like sea glass. And because glass is great to reuse. So we reuse a lot of glass in our home, and that's also another great tip, is to prioritize things in glass and also in cardboard, because cardboard can be recycled and composted and it will not turn into toxic microplastics out in the environment. Now I wanted to take a second and read through just exclusively the tips that you guys left me on Instagram. So like I said, if you're not already following me over there, I would appreciate it if you go do that. But I just love to hear from you, and I think we can all learn a thing or two from each other. So let me grab my phone. All right, so I will try to put all of your little bubbles up on the screen, but the first tip I see says, don't go hungry. Snickers bars will be so tempting. So always traveling with some form of snack in your bag so that you're not tempted to reach for the plastic wrapped goodies. One of my favorite things is this chocolate bar that I get from Thrive Market. It comes in a compostable packaging and it's vegan. I mean, you really can't beat it. I love to have those in my backpack, and I also really love grapes when they're in season, and mangoes when they're in season, and strawberries when they're in season, and blueberry vanilla granola. But yes, throw some of those things in your stasher bag, whatever it is that you want to take on the road, and make sure you have it in your bag so that you're not tempted to reach for plastic wrapped goodies. Another great tip is to bring a bread bag. So instead of buying bread in plastic packaging, you can take your own bag up to the bakery, I guess is what it would be called, and ask them to put bread into your own bag. Super great tip. I get tagged in quite a bit of people doing that on Instagram, so good for you guys. I like that tip. Someone said the tree next door, which I assume means to grow your own food. So that's a really good one I didn't have on my list. We're currently growing, just right there is my window. I see my ginormous cucumber plant. We've already gotten 2 off of there, so that's very exciting. And then we have 2 pepper plants. I've gotten a couple peppers off of those. But what's really, really cool about this house that we didn't know when we bought it is that there are 4 fruit trees lining this side of the house. Well, we knew when we bought it, but not when we put the offer in. Basically, when our inspector was doing the inspection, he's like, you know, you've got a cherry, a pomegranate, a citrus, and a fig tree out here. And we were like, no, that was such a crazy bonus with this amazing home that we love. But yeah, so if you can grow things in your own yard, if your neighbors or friends or family grow things, definitely take advantage of that, because it's so cool to be able to grow your own food. It's just such a rewarding process. So yeah, definitely take advantage of things like that. So this is interesting. Zero Waste Adventure says, having no fixed meal plan, buy package-free veggies and build meals around them. So that's what I do a lot in my I Tried Zero Waste Grocery Shopping series. I'll link that series up here if you guys want to check it out. But it's to go into the grocery store, see what you can get package-free, and then build your meal, as opposed to sitting down, planning your meals before you go to the store, and then ending up having to buy ingredients that you need that maybe are not so sustainably packaged. That's a really good tip. I like that one. Mandy says Mexican/Asian grocery stores often have bulk staples like grains, beans, and package-free tofu. So that is so true. And I just tried zero waste grocery shopping at an Asian market. So if you want to go check out that video, it's right here. I really enjoyed making that one. I love that one. If you guys didn't know, whenever you're done watching the video, you can always click the little white circle with the eye in it to check out any of the videos that I recommend throughout the video. Okay. Just so you know. So Bailey says, not about packaging, but knowing what you already have at home, less food waste. Really good point. Make sure before you go to the grocery store, you kind of have an idea of what's in your pantry. Moving here has really helped me with that, because my pantry is very organized at this point. I know where everything is, and if I look in the pantry, I can see what I have and remember that when I get to the store, so I know if I need to buy something or not. That's a really good tip. So those are all the main tips and hacks I wanted to share with you today for zero waste grocery shopping. I am going to leave some more on the screen because I loved reading your ideas, and I would love for everybody to be able to read your ideas. If you didn't get to submit for this video, I would love to hear any tips that you have in the comment section of this video, and I would also appreciate it if you go follow me on Instagram, of course. Lastly, don't forget to check out today's sponsor, which is Thrive Market. I genuinely use them for so many staples in my home, in my pantry, and to feel a lot better about what I'm doing for the planet because they are a zero waste and super ethical company. They also are offering you a 1-month free trial and 25% off of your first order. Not only do they have food stuff, by the way, guys, they also have zero waste swaps over there. So if you use the 1-month free membership to get a discount on zero waste swaps, it's also a really cool thing to do if you need some produce bags or anything like that. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching, and remember, until next time, you cannot do all the good that the world needs, but the world needs all the good that you can do. Bye, guys.